The Leafs made a mistake, I think they would admit that, in selecting the games 2-3-2. I think because of the coast-to-coast travel, they thought, well, we'll go the way Dallas had gone. 2 games at home, 3 on the road, then 2 back home if necessary, thinking they'd have a big edge this way. But I think it backfired on the Leafs. Toronto was up 3-0 early in the game. They scored 3 goals in the first period, quite early in the play, and they're up 3-0, and you think, oh, gee, we're going back to Toronto. Now the Leafs may be regaining control here.
We always had a really calm and collected intermissions, and it took 60 minutes to win a hockey game, and of course we won a few of them in overtime. So we were very confident, and we were going to chip away. We weren't going to come out and try and win it in the first 2 shifts. We play it minute by minute, and the old cliches, shift by shift, and pick away at it.
Flynn pinching in, keeping it in, along the boards in the Toronto zone to Courtnall, shot, rebound in front, they score! Murray Craven, and it's 3-1. Across to Murray Craven at center, over the Toronto line, here's a chance for Lafayette, score! Jason Lafayette, it's 3-2.
The Canucks came back and tied the game in the second period.
Pavel Bure swinging off the boards. Back out to Lumet. Now to Bure, winding up. Shot, weak shot in front. Adams scores! Greg Adams ties it up! Here we go!
It was a very innocent play early in the second overtime, in the first minute of the second overtime. The Canucks, I think, had won the face-offs to start the overtime. Trevor Linden was the center.
I remember just thinking how tired I was. You know, the body would start to, I think it was the second overtime or whatever, and you get back to the bench after the second period, or after your shift, you think, I don't know how much I got left, you know, but you get out there and you feel fine, and I took it over the blue line and made kind of a high stop up, and, you know, in overtime we're just trying to get shots, and I got it back to Babs.
Linden into the Toronto zone, turning off the left boards, back at the line to Babbage.
And Babbage was just inside the blue line and didn't have much room, and he just put it on the net from near the boards at the left point, it seemed to me, and it wasn't a particularly difficult shot.
He could let a hard shot go with an easy snapshot, and the thing with Babs and all his shots, he gets it on net. He gets it on net, and players read off that.
Big man, you know, wrist the size of my thighs probably, and he used a really high lie in his stick and a short blade, so it always looked like he couldn't get anything away because his hands were always up in like this, and he would just kind of direct it to the net.
Back at the line to Babbage, long shot, Potvin had trouble with it.
Potvin had trouble with Babbage's shot. It was kind of a high shot, and he didn't stop it cleanly, and the rebound bounced off him out in front, and here was Greg Adams.
Long shot, Potvin had trouble with it. Adams did score! Greg Adams! Greg Adams! Adams gets the winner! 14 seconds into the second overtime. The Vancouver Canucks are going to the Stanley Cup Final.
You're talking about, instantaneous explosion of jubilation happened at the Pacific Coliseum. I mean, it was breathtaking. It really was. And that's why you love this game so much, because it has a flair for the dramatic. And when it happens, it's just something that you never forget.
The whole white out and the towels waving, and of course the roar as soon as that goes in, beating Toronto, and then realizing we're off to the Cup.
Adams just scored!
You talk about a call on a goal. I've heard that call many times over, and I had nothing else to say. I couldn't think of anything. You talk about rehearsing a big goal, which you don't do, but I said Greg Adams' name 3 or 4 times. I couldn't think of anything else, and I was excited. And Greg Adams' dad, living in Nelson, said that was a special moment in his life. He was in his hotel, the Lord Nelson, in the pub, which was, of course, jammed, watching the game on a big screen, but they said they had the radio audio on, I like that, while they were watching Hockey Night in Canada, and his son scores the winning goal in overtime, and the whole place in Nelson erupted, Greg's hometown, and he said, and tears running down his face. He was so emotional, and it was such a magic moment for him, hundreds of miles away from where it was a magic moment in Vancouver.
He was a guy that could break loose, and if he had the opportunity, he was going to finish. And he had some great quality scoring chances in that game, but this was his game.
Can you believe it? Goodbye, Toronto!
I mean, Toronto, they're still shocked today. They talk about Dougie Gilmour, and how great he was, and Felix the Cat Potvin was the goaltender. He was going to lead them to the cup. And yet it was the Vancouver Canucks that represented Canada in the Stanley Cup final.
Pretty exciting, and then of course the whole conference presentation, and Trevor lifting the cup over his head and the top of it falling off.
Lost the lid on the cup, yeah, that was my infamous losing half the cup, but it was pretty funny.
We won in 5 games, so we had a little bit of time to enjoy it before we headed off to New York. It was a pretty special feeling.
It was a special moment in the history of the Canucks, no doubt about that.